Hi, Vicky Kelty, back with you here. And today is about what I like to call, or I like to think of as involved learning and detached learning. So, this is for all of you who are spending a lot of time with TV shows and movies and reading things and you're just not noticing the progress in English that you've been looking for and hoping to have. So let's start though with my French study stat. So I had 4 minutes with Duolingo and I had 5 minutes with a French mystery show that's Agatha Christie focused. And for my leisure time, it's the same, focusing on the same two things. But the times are quite different. I had 71 minutes with Duolingo for the week and 45 minutes with that same Agatha Christie show. I haven't quite finished it, so no spoilers. I'm not even going to tell you what episode it is, so you can't spoil it. And back to what I was saying. Why would I maybe not be noticing progress with the leisure time that I'm dedicating to my Duolingo practice and my Agatha Christie TV show that I'm watching in French if I'm spending much more time with those two things? Any guesses? Anybody? Bueller? Um, because it's detached learning. Yeah. So I'm not taking any sort of concrete action to engage with what I'm learning. I'm just robotically going through the motions, or I'm just sitting on my sofa enjoying my show. And that is perfectly fine. Like, it has its place. Please do not take this to mean that I do not want you to like sit and enjoy a TV show. I definitely do. And also, I want you to really hear what I'm saying. So, my next question is, why does the shorter time that I spent with Duolingo and with the Christie TV show, why does that shorter time provide more value for me as far as helping me reach my French goals? And if you said because you are doing more involved learning with your short time that you're spending, you would be correct. So let me just take you through what I actually did for my study stats. So what I did with Duolingo was I read through the story like in the app, and I didn't even count that as time spent learning. So I read through the story, done. And then before I did, because you have to like match these little vocabulary words, before I did that, and then the story would close and it would be gone forever. Before I did that, I went back up to the beginning of the story and I read it out loud. So I took the pronunciation that I learned through listening to the story based on the Duolingo accent, obviously, and I tried to copy that pronunciation. Then I took the theme of the story, the topic that they were talking about, and I just had a little conversation with myself about it, about what I thought about it, about the characters and what had happened. And then I also connected that situation to my life and made another little comment on it. And and then I actually listened back to it and it made me laugh. But I didn't stop there. So while I said 4 minutes, 4 minutes was just what I recorded. So that was all I documented. But I actually spent relatively, more time than 4 minutes. But some things that I noticed as I was going through all of that is that I noticed different pronunciation difficulties that I was having. What was one? Like boyfriend. The word for boyfriend I found challenging to say because I couldn't quite remember the pronunciation. And as I listened through my recording, I was changing the pronunciation throughout the recording. So I'm like, cool, that's something that I get to work on. That's something I can improve on. And I noticed different grammar points that I did well, and also ones that I want to review or to learn because I just haven't learned them yet. And then I also noticed some vocabulary gaps that came up in the process of doing this, just some words that I don't know yet. And again, another opportunity for me to fill in those gaps. So, Agatha Christie now. I basically made myself a detective. I decided I was going to listen for the details of the victim. So when they found the body of this person, they commented on a number of things. And I decided that I was going to, like a detective, have my little notebook and make little notes so that I could remember all of those things so that later when they're investigating, I'm like, oh, but I know that this and this were at the crime scene and this is true about the victim. And so I can basically use that information to help me through the rest of the episode. And so I only watched 5 minutes of the episode because that was about the length of time that they were talking about the body that they'd found. And I actually, again, spent more than 5 minutes getting all of that information because I was listening to the show in French, but I had Spanish subtitles because that's what's available on our television for this particular show. And so I really needed to do my best listening, like tune everything else out and focus intently to see if I could understand some really specific words. And there were some words that I didn't know, but I had the subtitles to help me. So I was like, okay, this is what it was in Spanish. Hopefully, it was a similar translation. So now I can use that word to give me, like, I can go and research how you say to fall, for example, because that was one of the words, like to fall from the sky, to fall from a plane. Giving you some hints about the episode. And yeah, so I was really proud of myself. I would like to note another brag that I recognized some numbers. I was like, oh, they said number 12. Yeah. And yeah, so I had quite a few pat myself on the back moments in both my Duolingo practice and my TV show watching practice. And I love to celebrate those. So if you have not celebrated something that you noticed you did really well in English lately, please send me a message and let me know what is something that you want to celebrate that you're proud of that you did with your English. So you can email me at hola@vickykelty.com and I would love to celebrate your wins as well. So I hope that by seeing the ways that I interacted with my Duolingo practice and with my TV show watching, you can see the difference of just reading the story on Duolingo and finishing in 2 minutes or less versus really spending some time and engaging with the information and making sure that you're using that vocabulary and grammar and topic that Duolingo is giving you and allowing you to learn it more by spending more dedicated time with it. And the same with the listening practice. And you'll also note that I said that I did 5 minutes of watching of Agatha Christie for my study stats and 45 minutes for my leisure time. I really want you to notice that because I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this whole episode and I'm going to take notes the whole time. After 5 minutes, because I was rewinding and re-listening, I said, no, there's no way I'm going to watch a whole 90-minute episode and take notes the whole time. That is exhausting for me. If it's not exhausting for you, awesome. Power to you. Go ahead, do it. But it is exhausting for me. So I liked that I took a little bit of it and turned it into a more intense practice. But I don't have to do the whole thing as this super involved, intense learning. I can totally lay back, enjoy myself, detach from it, and just passively learn. That's totally cool. And it has its place. And then at those times, I just kind of get a feel like a fluent user would. So anybody who speaks French fluently, they just be sitting back and enjoying the show and not worrying about oh, what does this mean? Oh, how do you say this? Oh, no, they wouldn't be worrying about any of that. And so there's a time and place for both of those. But remember that if your goal is to be making progress, there has to be some time that you're spending on that involved, intense, really engaged learning with the listening and reading and, yes, the Duolingo practice. If you really, really want to be improving and seeing those changes. So I think that is all that I have for you today. But before you go, I would just love to know what other ways would you engage more with the listening and reading that you're doing in English? Please let me know. I've already shared my email. You can use that same email to send me a response. And I hope that you become more involved in your English practice. And also, I do have a blog post on this topic with some more ideas if you are struggling for even more ways to turn a reading into something more engaged or a movie into something more engaged. You can take a look at that blog post. But that's all from me. Thanks for tuning in and have a happy, involved learning experience with everything you do in English this week. Bye.